All right, man. We are live. What is going on, dude?
Nothing much, man. A lot of work, blue collar life. A lot of long double shifts,
Yeah.
making money.
Hey, as long as you're making money working, that's good, dude. I'm the sucker that took the salary job, so they just keep working me more and more and get paid the same,
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse, because when it's slow in my job, you'd want the salary,
Yep.
you know?
Yep, it's got its ups and downs for sure. But you know what it is? It's the Nooner Nation, guys, the podcast for Nooners by Nooners. I'm your host, Bill Schofield, and before we introduce our awesome guest tonight, you already know, you've been listening to podcasts enough by this point. Like and subscribe on YouTube, rate and review on iTunes, rate and review on Spotify now. I've got a couple reviews on Spotify, so that's kind of the currency in the podcast world. Also, go check out our sponsor, repcps.com. Everybody knows by now. You've seen the hats. Jeff, you've seen the hats, right? The Show Me That Butthole hat. Yeah, that's them. So
That's the next thing I'm ordering. Are you kidding?
Yeah. So I'm wearing one right now, skinny dips and bong rips. I had one around here that said free hugs and butt plugs, but we've been having people in and out of our house the last couple of days, and my wife didn't want that thing laying around. So I think she hid it somewhere. But yeah, so go to repcps.com, use the promo code Nooners, get 10% off. Help them. I had the owner of that on the show a couple weeks ago. Awesome dude, just trying to, make a living selling hats and having fun. Go help him out, and it helps us out at the same time. But yeah, so without further ado, Jeff, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, man?
What's up, man? Jeff Kraebel, Long Island, New York. Handle is the Blue Collar Athlete on Instagram and most social media. I stay off Twitter because I hate them fucking people. But yeah, Blue Collar Athlete, that's my brand. Those are the shirts you'll see me wearing. That's what you saw me wearing on Podcast Out West there,
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't know that was actually a brand. So where can people go find the Blue Collared Athlete stuff?
Well, right now I'm in transition for ordering stuff.
Okay.
I do have shirts available, but I'm in the works on that right now. But that's what you saw me wearing.
Gotcha.
I used to have several thousand of them. I've just been my kids live with me full time, so I've basically been working and training and racing and kind of dipping off of social media mostly. So I'm just starting to make a slam back into the public eye,
Yeah, well, it's an awesome handle. The Blue Collared Athlete thing definitely works for sure. So yeah, you said Long Island. What's it like out there right now? Are things getting a little bit better?
Well, fortunately, I live in a blue collar belt of Long Island, sandwiched between a bunch of rich people. So here, it was pretty much normal, other than wearing a mask to go to the doctor. I mean, people don't like rules around here.
Yeah.
And we don't follow too many, and I follow less than that. So, and I work in a building materials industry, so, there's not really, it's very macho industry.
Yeah.
There's not really too many people giving a fuck.
Right. For sure, man. So yeah, like you said, on the podcast out west, obviously referring to Drinkin Bros.
Fuck yeah.
You went out to Austin. That's kind of why I reached out to you a couple weeks ago to get you on. You went out to Austin. I think you took your kid with you, right?
That was who was with me just now, my son Colin, yeah.
Yeah. You seemed like you were having a blast. They got you on the camera, and the message, the live chat just lit up saying man, this guy seems like a blast, one of the coolest drinking bros ever. I was like, man, yeah, this guy is fucking awesome. I need to reach out to this guy and get you on. So how long have you been listening to Drinkin Bros?
About maybe 2 years, dude. Honestly, I just bounce around. I don't really watch television. I just listen to podcasts, and one will just take me to another. It takes me to another. And I have some I listen to religiously and some I kind of bounce around on. But those guys just fucking speak my language, bro. They start. I found them, and I think I haven't missed an episode since the day I stumbled across them.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge American Party podcast fan, and
yeah.
I'm like a hybrid mix between Dan and Ross. I'm a fucking maniac on one hand and, pretty kind of political and reserved on the other,
Right.
So I think both of those guys,
Yeah, you kind of look like a mix of both of them. So Maybe sometime in the future they each like created a baby and then sent him back in time, and that's now you. That'd be a very weird thing to happen, but you never know.
It sounds like something D'Anthony would think of.
Yeah, it might be, and I'm not even on drugs, so.
Yeah.
But that's cool, dude. What'd you think of Austin?
Well, I mean, there was a couple of highlights. I was staying at a hotel right by Lady Bird Lake, so we had a roof deck pool and that whole thing. Like if you're into that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the most amazing thing I saw was we were leaving to go to the airport, and I saw two homeless men making out on the corner, and one had a fucking squeegee in his hand.
Hey.
And I looked at my son and said, "Welcome to Biden's America."
Hey,
and we just had a laugh, bro. Because it's not that it's not homeless people here. You just don't see shit like that.
Right. Well, they might be homeless, but love finds a way, Jeff.
That's what I was thinking, dude.
Love finds a way. Good for those two homeless gay people,
I'm not even sure if they were gay.
They're just whatever, just going for like whatever's there.
I think if you're that fucked up and that homeless and you got a squeegee in your hand, I think all bets are off,
Yeah, well, the other one is probably like, this guy's not that hot, but he has a squeegee, so he kind of has a job.
Let me share the squeegee.
He's kind of got a job, So one day we'll make it out of this and be able to buy a tent,
Dude, that's what I was thinking. That's great.
So
the other one, when I left the studio, those 7 creeped on me, So my son was driving us back to the hotel.
Yeah.
And I was pretty lit, and we stopped at Wendy's because our flights were delayed like 4 times. We landed at like 3:00 in the morning.
Oof.
The night before, well, that morning, and then
right.
I just didn't even eat. We just partied.
Right.
And then I'm like, dude, stop at that fucking Wendy's,
Yep.
And we just pulled in the parking lot. I'm barely taking the wrapper off. I'm starving, right?
Right.
And this other homeless guy comes up to me, been around. He's seasoned. His skin's all leathery and shit, right? And he does not speak in English, really. He's just holding out his hand. It's got a few pieces of change that I couldn't even determine what they were. And he just kept sticking it in my face through the open window. And I kept trying to tell him to leave politely. And I look at my son. I go, this guy gets one more time before I got to throw him in the bushes or something, And then he goes, I go, peace out, bro. And then he looks at me and he goes, peace out, bro. And then he just sort of meanders away. I say, this place is a trip, man.
Yeah.
It's like a mini Los Angeles. You've been to Los Angeles, right?
I have, but I was there for work, and like my hotel was literally across the street from where I was.
So you weren't out venturing.
So yeah, and I found, and actually I can't even say that. I wasn't technically in Los Angeles. I was about 30 minutes east. And I thought about venturing in, but it just didn't happen. But I mean,
I'm fortunate. My brother lives in West Hills, out in LA. They've been out in, in a nicer area. He makes some decent money. He's far more successful monetarily than I am. And, but I'll fly out there to visit him. And then my coach is in Venice Beach. So then Venice Beach is a fucking blast,
Right. Yep.
That's where you see some innovative homeless people. They'll just take other people's shit, make it into art, and then try to sell it to you for more weed. And the whole beach smells like pot.
Nice.
And you get a contact high from one end to the other. But just you go out into LA, into the city, and there's like whole sections of it that are just tents. Every overpass has, just tents all over.
Oh yeah.
Wild. So Austin's like one sliver of that,
Yeah. But
it's like what's that light smoke that Ross
the
was talking about?
diet smoke stuff.
So that's diet homeless.
Diet homeless, yeah.
Homeless
light out there.
Yeah. 100%.
In Austin. Well, the first time I went out to Austin to meet up with those guys was last year's Super Bowl when they did the party at the studio, and the homelessness was way worse than it is now. To the point where I actually missed my flight coming back because underneath one of the overpasses, a homeless camp had caught on fire, and it was so big and the fire was so bad that it engulfed the highway and they had to shut it down.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Did you see any homeless people on fire running through screaming and shit?
I didn't. Well, if I did, I don't remember it. I was pretty fucked up because I went from the studio to the airport. So
Nice. Not that I'm saying I'd want to see it, but if it happened to come by my way, it'd be interesting.
Oh yeah, I'd definitely take a video of it.
Yeah, so we're out here on Long Island. Like tonight's the first hot night, so now I'm dying in my fucking house because I don't have any fans or anything. It's been cool.
Yeah.
And then today it hit 70, and 70's warm here for this time of year.
Yeah.
And so this house is nice and warm.
Right. Yeah, I think I went to New York as a young man, but it was like October, so the weather was pretty mild. Actually, if I recall, it got pretty cold in the evenings. But I think historically doesn't New York get pretty muggy in the summers?
Oh yeah, it's like for July and August and maybe a couple weeks of September, it's like Florida.
Yeah.
It's very humid and it gets around 90, 95. If you're in the city, you're really hating life. But I'm near the ocean. Gotcha. Like you can see Connecticut from down the block from my house. I live near the Long Island Sound.
Okay.
And then I drive 20 minutes south and I'm at the ocean.
Right.
You know,
right.
And I'm way away from the city. Like when I have friends from Canada and shit, and I went to school, University of Montana.
Oh wow.
That's his rugby club.
Oh Lord. You're gonna have Davey in the fucking live chat. Ask him about rugby. Ask him about rugby.
20 years, buddy. 20 years I played.
You fucking rugby people.
Yeah, we're a cult.
Do you like cricket? Are you cricket over baseball as well?
No. That'd be funny though. I wish I was.
Davey's a cricket guy as well. I was like, no, Davey, you're just being a contrarian at this point.
Yeah, I was about to say that you'd be a little
you're just being a contrarian, you know.
Well, I used to have the football players used to call us pussies. And I used to go, all right, fair point, because they're much larger. Obviously, they're recruited there and they belong there. And we're more like the land of the misfit toys. We're like athletes, but like athlete light, you know?
Right. I don't know, man. Rugby players are pretty fucking tough from what I've seen.
Fair enough. But they were calling us pussies. And I'm like, you got pads and a fucking helmet.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, do you wear a maxi too? And, you know, you can get into it with those guys. It's pretty good. But I love all contact sports, man. Yeah. I don't care, you know?
And also, rugby was developed by, a continent founded by criminals. So there's that in Australia.
Well, you know what's interesting? It was in the Olympics back in the 20s, I think it was 21 and 22 or around there. We won the Olympic rugby gold medal.
The U.S. did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And think about it, because we had a bunch of fucking imports back then. Everybody was fresh off the boat, right?
Yeah, fair.
So, like, they were the U.S. It's kind of like when you get one of our guys that's all of a sudden from China and goes and gets him a gold, or from whatever country, you know.
Right, yeah.
But, yeah, it's pretty funny that, like, in American football was actually derived from rugby, but no true football player will ever tell you that. But,
yeah, I mean, you can definitely see that if you look close enough, yeah. But, so what, you went to the University of Montana. So, are you originally from New York?
Yeah, from Long Island. Yeah.
Okay, so what took you to the University of Montana?
Far too many drugs at a super young age, man.
Okay.
Like, we started dropping acid when I was like 11.
All right.
And, we were we were just, look, people say there's no such thing as white privilege. That would be a lie. It's just the context you have to use it, right?
Right.
So my father was adopted. His parents abandoned him. He fucking had a shitty youth. He worked his ass off. He worked 3 jobs, saved up enough money, bought a restaurant, a little pizzeria. He opened it when I was 2, and he had it till I was 37. But he worked his ass off to give me that life that he didn't have. And that's where the white privilege comes in. It's innocent, right? It's not meant to happen that way. He's just trying to give me something that he didn't have. What happens, though, with no accountability and parents working all the time, is they're just giving me money. Right. And we're just a bunch of middle-class white kids running around. And back in the how old are you?
34. So.
Okay, well, I'm 51, right? So back in the late 70s, early 80s, I mean, you just left your house on a bicycle at 6, and they were like, please come home at some point, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that was, I was on the tail end of that. I was during the summers. My mom was a teacher. My dad was a painting contractor. My mom taught summer school to make extra money. So during the summers, especially, it was like, there's your bike. And I grew up in a fairly smallish town in North Carolina. So it was like, get on your bike, go fuck around with your friends. Maybe give us a phone call every once in a while. Let us know, like,
check in. But we didn't even have that. Like, there was no beepers yet, even. Like, you
right.
know, we still had dial phone. I mean, we were barely into push buttons. You know, you didn't even have remote, like wireless remotes back then. They had a wire connected to the box.
Yep.
And before that is that old joke where my dad would make me stand up and hold the antenna so the Yankee game would come in clear.
Right, know? Right.
I mean, it was literally kind of like that, though. We make jokes, but yeah, man. So when I joke around about white privilege, I just mean, like, you know, we were a community of people who were all middle class or better for the most part.
Right.
And we were just left up to our own devices, and there was just a lot of drugs in those neighborhoods, and they were, you know. Yeah. And, you know, we had friends that came from a more broken home. They'd go into Ozone Park, you give them $100. They come back with 100 hits of acid, and then you sell them for $5 a hit, right? So you lose a few, you eat a few, you sell a few, whatever, and you just keep rolling that over. And then there'd be these crazy parties, like in the woods. Like, you can't do it here anymore, but there'd be 300 people from every different crowd you could think of in the woods, just with keg after keg and fights and parties and all kinds of stuff. And it was back in the era when, you know, you go to kiss a girl and she's not ready, and you go, well, just have one more sip, you know? And, like, you can't do that shit today. And, like, I wouldn't even argue you should have did it back then, but that was what I grew up in, you know? So I lived that life at a very young age, and I had back to upspeed you to Montana, how I wound up there. It was Christmas Eve, maybe 1989, I think. It was the year I was graduating, and I was fucking hammered, and, you know, there's just a lot of drugs, and I just knew I needed to leave. Right. And I had family in Montana that I really didn't know. I just knew they were there, and I was like, what's the furthest fucking place I can get away from here? Right. And you know, catch my breath. So I went there. And then they had opened up a New York style deli out there. So I got to cut all the radio commercials because I had a thick accent for out there. Oh, yeah. And it was cool. I went to University of Montana. I never really had an intention of going to class and shit. But, you know, I found the rugby team. I hung out with a lot of those fake hippie people. I think they call them granolas out there. Oh, yeah. And they're like trust fund hippies. Most of them had money. Oh, yeah. They chose to, like, burn sage, the women grew their armpit hair out, and they just sort of played guitars and banjos and shit down by the water. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm very familiar. But they had a good time, you know? Yep. And I liked Montana. It was the mountains. I skied a lot. Snowboarding was, like, just starting to take off. There really was no such thing as microbrews yet. They were just coming out. Right. And you could write a check at McDonald's for, like, $1.37 still for, like, a cheeseburger, which you couldn't do here. Right, but, yeah. Yeah. So I hid there for like 4 years, you know. I mean, I worked out a lot, played a lot of rugby, and traveled around and partied pretty hard, and until I came back here with my tail between my legs. Right. After you burn every bridge there, I lit that place on fire and came back, you know. Right. Right. David asking if you were coached by Vaughn Stumpf. Not that I can recall. Okay. Apparently, Andy Stumpf, the SEAL that does the clear. I know who that is, yeah. That's his dad. I guess he has something to do with the University of Montana. And you know what, bro? I don't know about you, but I could have I even do know the guy, but the name thing, like, they have a tournament there. It's one of the most famous tournaments. It's called Maggot Fest. Because the men's club in Missoula is the Missoula Maggots. They're, like, famous worldwide. Okay. They throw the largest Northwest, and I would argue, U.S. rugby tournament. And I flew back there every year for that tournament for years after I left, because it's a 4-day party. Yeah. It's unlimited alcohol, free. And the bars, all the bars, teams come from Australia, you know, and all you know, you get like a team from Australia, you get a bunch of teams from Canada up in British Columbia, because you're out in the Northwest, you know. Mm-hmm. And if you want to rage, you know, it was like I came out of the frying pan and into the fire, but just in a different way. I didn't do a lot of drugs out there. I did a lot of partying, a lot of rugby. You know? Yeah. Well, I mean, at least you had the rugby, you know. Changed my life, bro. So yeah, there you go. There's a when you get the brand back up and hopping, you can do a shirt that said "Rugby saved my life," right? Yeah, dude, no doubt. There you go. So I didn't even know rugby existed here, and then when I came back, I found out there was 3 teams on Long Island the whole time I was alive that I didn't even know were here. You know. Nice. Lloyd Berg, ask him if you ever went down to the Testicle Festival. Yes, I have. That's near. I'm trying to think. That's down towards Butte when you head towards southern Montana. A lot of the bikers go to the Testicle Festival. That's when you're eating bull's testicles.
Yeah.
And people come from all over the place to eat them damn things. That's a big party as well.
Mountain oysters, as they're known.
Yeah, Rocky Mountain oysters. Yeah.
Yeah, I have partaken in some mountain oysters before. One time they're actually really good. They kind of made them into like an onion ring and deep fried them. You know, those weren't bad. And then I had them like the first year I was ever in Iowa, like the Iowa State Fair. Apparently, it's like the biggest state fair in the country. So everybody's like, you got to go. And somebody was like, I bet you won't eat mountain oyster. Or no, somebody was trying to play it up like I wouldn't know what it was. Like, oh, try the mountain oysters. They're good. I was like, yeah, they're fucking bull nuts. I know what they are. Like, order them. I don't give a fuck. But those ones were like sliced like a patty and then just grilled, and they're really chewy and gross. And I wasn't into those. But I don't give a fuck.
I mean, look, you got to do something to doctor them bitches up, or I ain't eating them.
You know, well, you know what, like eggs. I mean, you're just eating a chicken fetus. Like, what the fuck do I care, man? Like, I've also seen how chicken McNuggets are made. They're delicious. I still fucking eat them. I don't care.
Yeah. You saw that thing where they're spraying the pink shit all over them and stuff?
Yeah, the pink slime. I mean, it's
that was amazing.
It's essentially they're just putting like pink cake batter into like a mold, and it comes out as a chicken nugget. Like, that's science.
I'll tell you what.
It's science. You know.
When I'm drunk and starving, it's the only thing open. Looks good to me.
Oh man, the boot. You gotta get the boot ones, the best shape.
Yes, you do get those sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. There's only 4. There's like 4 shapes because they mold them. They mold the pink slime. So I will say probably the best in the nugget game is Chick-fil-A, but they're really expensive, and you can pound out like 30 of those, no problem.
Yeah, my son Colin, who was out west with me, he loves Chick-fil-A, and he works for a Ford dealership, and there's a Chick-fil-A right across the street, so
yeah,
he lives there.
It's the Lord's chicken, man. And
I was about to say, if you want any on Sunday, you're fucked.
The only time you ever want it is fucking Sunday. It's like Sunday afternoon, you'd be like, man, Chick-fil-A sounds really good. You're like, fucking Christ. Like, no.
So I was out in Montana for like 4 years. And then when it was time for me to go, when I had no job anymore, I was crashing on a friend's floor. You know, I was like 23.
Right.
And I had just enough money for a one-way Amtrak ticket from Whitefish, Montana to Penn Station, which I don't recommend doing, by the way. But unless you have some money.
Yeah.
I get on the thing with a bag of Starburst and 1 suitcase of Budweiser and no money in Whitefish, Montana. And by the time my family received me on the other end, it looked like I was one of the homeless people with a squeegee underneath the fucking overpass. My mom looked at me and started crying, you know?
Just sucking calories off of Starburst wrappers, you know?
But you will meet some amazing freaks on those trains. I passed Ted Kaczynski's cabin. They go right by it.
Oh, yeah?
It looks like an outhouse. You ever see that thing?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I watched it.
It's like as big as this can.
Yeah, I watched the documentary on Ted Kaczynski, and it was fucking wild, man. For somebody, I mean, yeah, wild. Yeah, but it's just like this little one-room shack out in the middle of nowhere, right?
Wasn't he like MK Ultra, though? Didn't they give him a bunch of drugs?
So they say. I mean, he's per IQ testing and stuff, he's a genius.
When I create my own test, I'm a genius. When somebody else does, not so much.
Yeah, well, whatever. It's all a scale, right? I have a family member who is like a certified genius, like a Mensa certified genius, and I have witnessed him burn mac and cheese, like Kraft mac and cheese, like burn it to the point where it's unedible.
Yeah.
I've also heard him on a phone call one time asking a relative, as why they were in college. Oh, hey, I bought some milk. I don't know what happened, but for some reason, like I put it under the kitchen sink instead of the fridge. And the other person's like, well, how long has it been underneath there? And they're like, well, like a couple days. They're like, well, pour it out. Like, pour it out. What are you talking about? Like, just pour it out. He's like, well, it tastes fine, though.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, pour it out. How are you, like, in college? Like, how are you a junior in college at the age of 17 and you haven't figured out how to like not drink spoiled milk,
Well, I always find it amazing that the smarter, book smart somebody is, the less life hacks they have. Like they got nothing. Like they don't even know how to hold the right end of a shovel to dig a hole. And that's not everybody. So I'm not hating on it, but
no, they can learn how to operate a shovel. You just have to give them very clear instructions on how to do it, right? There's not like an intuitiveness sometimes to these people. Now, this same person, as they've gotten older and kind of out into the normal workforce, gotten much better socially and streetwise. But I still know some people that are very smart and still like, dude, like what? Like you don't know how to. What are you talking about? You don't know how to do this. Like this is very simple stuff. But yeah. So anybody that's seen your Instagram, which by the way, go check it out. Very inspirational, by the way. It makes me want to all I wanted to do since I've been researching you a little bit and writing notes is go find the closest CrossFit gym and start doing the dumb kip pull-ups, Yeah,
I don't do those, by the way.
Well, it's cheating.
I'm not a very CrossFit-y guy. That's like its own cult, and I'm not shitting on it. They're just their separate thing. Like they have their own bromance going off in another corner somewhere. But I will tell you, a CrossFit chick built right is pretty hot.
Oh yeah, do you follow Christmas Abbott?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So
hot. Great feet.
I like
Great
CrossFit
feet.
chicks. A good MMA chick with a black eye or something is pretty hot.
Yeah, so I do. That's where I do a lot of my working out now. Is I go to do MMA training, which I don't do a lot of the strength and conditioning before now. Now I've been so busy the last couple of weeks, trying to sell current house, buy another house. I haven't had time to go do the MMA stuff, so I was able to actually go in and do one of the actual kind of they do, when they're not doing MMA training, they'll do HIIT classes, Yeah. And I got my ass kicked because it had been probably about 3 weeks since I'd done any kind of workout, and went in and did a HIIT class designed by these MMA monsters. You
were sore as fuck, probably.
Oh, I'm still sore, dude. This is Monday. My quads are still roasted.
See, if we hung out in person, I'd be poking you all day long because I knew you were sore. I'd find every spot and just fucking jab you.
Hey, I mean, I'm not opposed to a little flirting. I don't care.
Hey, Don, can you get me a fresh one, bro?
So,
we'll go for 7.
But part of one of the little one of the spots in the the HIIT circuit was pull-ups, and dude, I did not have it. I was like, man, I'm not doing. My pull-ups are sucking today, and some dude's kip them, and I was like, get that CrossFit shit out of this gym.
Yeah, I'm not down with that shit. The muscle up's cool if you could do it.
Oh, that's pretty dope. Which I don't know.
I follow this chick on Instagram, Jenny Lynn. She's she's an Army Reserve girl. She shoots guns. She's got tattoos, and she does jujitsu.
Right.
And super down to earth, but she does them.
Yeah.
On the rings.
That's pretty impressive.
And it's great when you find somebody that's she's cute. She shoots weapons. I mean. I would never hit on her. I'd be a creeper. I'm 25 years older than her, but she's a good follow,
Yeah. Yeah. So what was her again? Let the people know where they can go.
Jen Lynn on Instagram.
All right. Go check her out. Also, friend of Drinkin Bros, Christmas Abbott. She's always a fun follow. But she's a little. I mean, she's her backstory. She's a little high strung.
Yeah, I like that.
Say. Oh yeah, feisty.
Unique.
Feisty. So what? Oh, you got your hard AFs.
I'm on number 4.
On number 4, man, we still got a half hour to go, Jeff.
That's fine. So I go to my barber. Shout out to the Experienced Barbershop. I go to the Spanish barbershop. That's where they straight razor my mohawk.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So Joe Zalito, this cat, he's a fucking good dude, right? So I go there in season when the money's really flowing. I'm there every week because I like to be treated nice. It's like the men's version of getting your nails done.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Clean up my eyebrows because I'm disgusting and shave my head and whatever. And And that guy takes care of me. So he had some cognac for me. So I was supposed to go for my second workout. And instead, I did a couple of shots of that, got my head shaved, and then came home and,
Hey, sometimes I know, especially when it comes to working out, being consistent, is a big thing. But sometimes you got to let loose, man. Go get your hair done, treat yourself,
Well, did you ever get a pedicure?
I've had a pedicure before. Yeah.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah.
One with a happy ending is better, though.
Yeah, I've never had one of those.
I mean, either. It just sounded good.
But, yeah, I've had a couple pedicures. I'll take that over a manicure. I felt very uncomfortable during a manicure.
That's weird. You kind of like...
You're just like up here and this like 90-pound Asian man with a Pauly D haircut that's bleached out was just like trying to talk to me. And I was like, I don't know what, like...
Yeah, they got this place down by, they do a lot of foot massages here. So you pay like $40 for an hour. They do your feet, they soak them, and then they give you first they rub your neck in a chair for 10 minutes, and at least they're under 60, these women, because you go to some of these places, I'm like, man, where'd they find this lady from,
Right.
But they give you the whole for like $40. You get an hour, you get a neck rub, a foot rub, and all that shit. I used to go there with this girlfriend of mine.
Nice. So what's your favorite hard AF flavor?
Shit, man. I like this one. What is that? The blue raspberry.
Blue raspberry? Yeah, it's pretty good.
But I'll tell you what, there is not one I don't like. So what I do is I drink one of each before I go back to the next one.
Yeah, kind of cycle them around.
Well, I was afraid of the peach for a while because I don't really like peach.
Right.
Normal stuff. But then I drank one. I was like, hey, fuck, these are all right.
Yep, that was me. I was at the launch party for the Super Bowl. And I
wish I was there, bro. I didn't watch it, but I listened.
Oh,
and it sounded like a good fucking time.
It was insane. I mean, so insane. I mean, you've heard the story by now. It was so insane. Dan Holloway got so drunk, he told his girlfriend, hey, let's take a picture in front of these cute angel wings. Like, that just proves how fucked up he was, right? He was. I saw him stumble into a vending machine at one point in the night. And then he was trying to get my attention at another point in the night and like fell over a table and then laughed. And then at that point, I knew when he laughed, I was like, oh man, like I should go find Brittany. Somebody needs to take care of Dan. And then, Ross, I think that was probably the first night Ross really drank much since being sick. And, we're at WTF downtown. I probably still told the story before, and I mean, the halftime show, if you're somebody even close to my age who enjoys hip hop, I mean, that halftime show was like the greatest thing on the planet. And everybody at WTF is going crazy. I mean, singing along, going nuts. And I look over as people are just dancing around me, and Ross is just sitting in a chair, like in the front row, just staring a hole through the TV. Not moving, like just deadpan. Like mouth a little bit open, like a little, drunk jaw, just staring at the TV as 400 people around him are going nuts.
Well, imagine what that alcohol did to him after that downtime.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, but
this is why I knew these guys were my people, though, bro, was they were making fun of me like, yeah, he's dead. Yeah. Well, they had a different thing every time. Giorgio was at the house.
Yeah.
All like, whose baby is this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think Lazaro, who knows? Lazaro Lopez's baby might have been born today. We're still.
I have a whole, that he's selling all the hard AF stuff, all the advertisements. I had this idea, which I'm going to share now, but I'm going to do it myself, but I didn't get to it yet because it hasn't been nice enough for me to be out during the day partying.
Right.
I'm going to make where my dick goes in the can. I'm going to cut it out and duct tape it, but I'm going to put two so it makes it look like it's a lot bigger than that.
Oh, right.
I'm going to make a belt out of it with a thong.
Nice.
And that's going to be my advertisement. And I'm going to take my one of the shirts I got the All Politicians and Cunt shirt. Now I'm going to, tuck it through.
Oh, yeah. Pull it through, yeah.
And that's going to be my hard AF advertisement. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, they're going to love that.
I think so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to be the fucking East Coast poster boy.
You should be, because they got Lopez. Did you meet him while you were out there?
I wish I did. I met everybody but him.
Yeah. So Last Row Lopez is a trip. Scott Lopez, one of the coolest guys you will ever meet in your life.
He looks like a blast.
Yeah, if you ever just get a chance to sit down and talk to him out of the character, you're like, man, you understand, he's a very, very funny guy, and you understand how he could have come up with Last Row Lopez. And you get a little bit of Last Row Lopez stuff when you're just talking to him. But you're like, wow, this is not. He's a good time. If you ever make it back out there.
I'll be back out. I want to give it enough time because remember they were like, you flew out here just to show up on this podcast. And I'm like, well, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, why not? Hey.
I took a chance. I was like, if nobody else is there, which there wasn't. And, it was wild. I walked. They were like, hey, you want to come in and watch the rest of Ross Patterson Revolution? I'm like, sure. But you don't know anything. I'm in there. I'm a little awkward, but not, and I'm kind of tiptoeing through and I'm walking right through his set and he stops and he's like, wait, Ross is like, whoa. He's like, who's this Jack guy with the mohawk walking across the set? And I don't know if you saw that on his show.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But that same day he called me back up onto the thing and he's like, pointing me out and point down my mohawk and stuff. It was just Ross is a trip, man.
Oh yeah. It's definitely going there. I mean, they really are. I mean, they're exactly who they appear to be.
Giorgio was so nice. All of those guys.
Oh yeah, they're ultra nice.
Super nice.
The one thing I tell a lot of people is Dan Holloway is very much a very approachable person. In person, everybody's like, because when we went to the Hard AF launch party, I had a couple people with me who had never met any of them before. They're like, oh, there's Dan. I was like, yeah, go talk to him. I don't know if I can. I was like, Dan Holloway is a very nice guy. He might shoot me for outing him on this one, but very nice guy. Very personable. He's just, when you talk to him, you realize oh, he's very nice. It's just his way of thinking is just different.
Well, he'll say it himself. He's a bit of an introvert. So if you don't get it out of him, he's not offering it.
Ross is exactly who Ross is.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm a little bit of both of those guys because I am him as well.
Then, the one that I'd say typically surprises people is Delco Dan. He puts on this whole kind of ho-hum, whatever, too cool to care facade on air. Yeah. When you talk to him off air, he's a very nice guy.
They will all. I was so surprised because I've done a few of these type of things where I just show up places. Because I don't know if you do follow any comedians and stuff.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of the New York comedians I'm friends with, and so there's this podcast network, and actually Ralph Sutton was on Drinkin Bros.
Yeah.
So I did security work for those guys for the Legion of Skanks. Said they did the Skank Fest.
Right. Yep.
They have that. So every time they did that comedy festival in New York, I did security work for them. And so I'm friends with some of those comedians. I don't mean friends we hang out all the time, but
yeah, you're on a first name.
They're friendly to me,
Yeah, you're on a first name. They know you. You can talk.
So they gave me the back. I would do the security work. I didn't want any money. It just gave me all access to hang out with all these comedians. So I met Tony Hinchcliffe, and all those guys, and they knew me by first name after the second Skank Fest, and I'd be in that studio a few times, and Louis J. Gomez, the guy, him and Ralph Sutton own that whole podcast network.
Right. Yeah.
So Louis J. Gomez, I just watched it. He came out here to Long Island. And he's great because he doesn't give half a fuck.
Yeah. Is that Ruben just brought this up? Is Big J Okerson part of that group?
Yes, Big J Okerson is part of that for sure. Yeah. So Big J Okerson, Dave Smith, and Louis J. Gomez and the Legion of Skanks, which I highly recommend you check out.
Yeah.
But from an inspirational standpoint of a total fuck up, Louis J. Gomez is amazing. His backstory, I highly recommend anybody following it. His father was stabbed to death when he was a kid, and his mother was a heroin addict and killed herself. And he started out selling street comic selling tickets guy.
Right.
And worked his way up. And he'll say to this day, I'm still a shitty comedian, but he's one of the best podcasters And then he built this whole network, and he has that whole studio. I mean, even Joe Rogan used his studio. He borrowed it when he was in New York to do a podcast. I mean, and they've been on Rogan's podcast a few times.
Yeah. Well, man,
but it's kind of cool to just know. I draw from unique people that are successful in weird ways.
Oh, definitely.
It kind of fits me. I'm not the guy that generally is a big follower of like a super successful famous guy. I like that guy in the background that's kind of making a sick living doing crazy shit, but not everybody knows who he is.
Right. You know? And I think that's almost why like everybody at the like Tetherball Drinkin Bros place is so awesome with fans that come in, right? Because you're right. Like you can go in there. They say it's an open door policy, and they are right. I mean,
even more than that, they're like, "Hey, where do you want to eat? We'll give you 4 recommendations. Yeah. You want to spend a little money? You want to spend a lot of money?
Hey, there's a kitchen full of booze and drugs. Help yourself, and we're gonna have some brisket brought in. Help yourself, because I think they're all like, I mean, they've all made this weird journey into becoming a very successful podcast out of nowhere. Like, I mean, in reality, who would have thought that podcasting could be so lucrative 10 years ago, So
I would have got into it 10 years ago. Actually, I take that back. I didn't have the following and didn't understand it because I'm a technological retard. But like from an absorbing, it fits me perfect because I never stopped moving. I stopped watching television like 10 years ago. I mean, I'll catch half a show on Netflix when I'm dating somebody if they make me sit still long enough. But I mean, my kids live with me full time. I have 3 boys. My 24-year-old's off doing his own thing, but I have a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old. They live with me full time, and they have for many, many years. And we're just like, we're 3 dudes. We got a male dog, a male cat. There's testosterone dripping down the walls of this fucking place,
Yeah. You guys got a set of boxing gloves by the back door, sort shit out.
It's like a half frat house, half military camp. Because I have like a set of rules, right? There's like a handful of rules, like, don't let me come home after a double shift to a sink full of dishes or I'm going to fucking be pissed, And like, just basic things. And they're just good kids, man. They work, they go to school. My youngest one graduates this year and then I'm done.
Right.
And we're moving to Florida in a couple of months.
Oh yeah. What part of Florida?
St. Augustine.
Fountain of Youth.
Just south of Jacksonville a little bit on the Atlantic side.
Yeah. Oldest city in America.
Yeah, I call it New York, Florida, because it's just like a bunch of people who hate like liberal shit that moved to Florida, and I'm a lifelong renter. I don't think I'll ever buy anything because I'm kind of nomadic.
Right.
But for a little over $2,000, the 3 of me and my 2 boys will be like 2 or 3 blocks from the beach.
Oh yeah.
Just fucking hanging out, and I told them that they can pay half the rent. But I'll pay the first 3 months. Right. And they get jobs and they can pay half their own. We'll get some jet skis and shit. And in 9 years, my retirement kicks in. And then, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Will your job transfer down there?
No, I'm just leaving.
Oh, you're just going to leave?
Yeah. Well, I got 18 years into the pension, which will give me $3,600 a month when I turn 60. Plus, I'll still work and shit, hustle and do whatever. Yeah. And I have this really cool little BMW whip car, but other than that, I don't own anything. Like, I just don't care. Experiences have always been far more important to me than ever owning anything.
Right, for sure. And, dude, if you're in Florida, your fitness shit, like, just go do, like, a boot camp out in a park for people, right?
And I did that. I used to do boot camp classes all over the place up here. It wasn't even about the money. I just loved the feeling of, like, here's the thing. You went to my Instagram. You said it was inspirational, right? Here's where I got burnt out. Why I don't have shirts and shit up anymore or anything. I only like helping people who want to help themselves. And
for sure.
I can't stand people that are full of shit. And I really don't like people in general. I mean, I like to interact with people, like-minded individuals. Mm-hmm. But all the rest of the fringe that pretend they're your friends or always want something from you, I got burnt out very quick on all of that.
Oh, yeah. Well, merch, what a lot of people don't understand, because I have a side hustle doing, I do screen printing, and I started that because I don't know if you're familiar with like Burt Koontz and Bison Union and all that.
Yeah.
Like, I loved that. I was like, man, and I wanted to do podcasting. I was like, well, how can I fund doing podcasting? I'll start a t-shirt business, selling t-shirts, unless you have a story or you're like a hot chick that can do really good marketing. Selling shirts is the hardest thing on the goddamn planet to do. So that transitioned to me just screen printing for other people. I find that far more enjoyable, and it's far more lucrative and far easier to get business.
That's
that
so
way.
funny. We'll have to talk off air.
Yeah, man, for sure.
When I roll out, because I got some ideas when I'm ready to roll again.
Yeah.
Now I have a little money in the bank and some shit. Like I said, I got really burnt out, and so I just concentrated on myself. I turned it inward. That's why. So I did a lot of racing, and so I do the Spartans Elite Series, and I would travel around the country. Yeah. Racing for money that I'd never win, but I'd always be in like the top 10, top 15. I would never beat the top guys because they have coaches all the time, and I don't know what they do for a job, but I got to show up at one, and I got to like. Yeah,
well, they're like professional athletes, right? They just.
But you want to talk like positive. I haven't met a negative person in the Spartan race. I found my first. I did American Ninja Warrior in 2015, and it was such a buzz to get 8 minutes on NBC, like just be on television. And like, I never watched the show before I went on. So like, I really didn't know what I was doing. I never did any of the obstacles. I just saw the commercial and somebody dared me. And I have some friends that are producers in Hollywood. Like they make movies and shit. Not like most famous stuff, but some stuff. And they were home. We went to high school together. They were here. They knew I wanted to film this entry video. So they said, fuck it, we got our equipment, we'll do it. So they filmed the entry video. They entered it all for me, and I just forgot about it. I'm like, I literally never watched anything other than the advertisement for the show. I never saw the show. I didn't know what the obstacles were. So at 42, I got kicked in the face. It shattered my nose. I got a concussion, and that was my last rugby day. And I was kind of lost because you know things become your identity after like 20 years. I'm Jeff Kraebel, the rugby guy. My nickname was a Silver Fox because I was gray. And that's all I did. I traveled around playing rugby 7 months out of the year. And then I got into free running and climbing and shit. Mm-hmm. And that's how I wound up on American Ninja Warrior. But it was the backstory. They don't really care athletically unless you're amazing. It's like, what story do you have that we can market? Yeah. So I was single father of 3, struggling to survive. You know, blah, 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 blah. Like, dude, I'll send you the link and you can watch it.
We'll post it. I'll post it on the Instagram if you let me.
Yeah, well, they stole. I had it on YouTube. Oh. And they took it down because somebody bought the rights to all those seasons. Oh, yeah. And I can't get it, but I have it on my Google Drive. So I don't care what you do with it. I'll send it to you, and you can do whatever you want. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But you'll find it interesting because I went to bro. I don't know if you ever watched the show. Did you ever watch the show?
I'm not like
the guy with the green hair, Captain NBC. They called him.
I don't recall that.
Wear the cape and shit, and
maybe I've seen like it's one of those shows because I don't watch a whole lot of TV either.
Yeah, you don't seem like you would.
But it's one of those shows, like especially like my previous job when I was traveling a lot, like in a hotel. You know, flicking through, it's like, oh shit, like this is definitely more entertaining than the other crap that's on. So I'll just watch super athletic people run the gauntlet, right? So
yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's a cool show. So what?
Don't you like watching the people talk shit and fail though? Because that's my favorite.
Well, here's the thing. Pretty much anybody that talks a ton of shit on that show, they fail. They fail immediately. They can't even make it through the little hop things, you know.
What you don't know, and I'll let you know a little secret, is they don't pay for anything, right?
Oh, I doubt they would. You know?
Their gift to you is allowing you to go hang out with them. Right?
Well, the exposure, right? They're giving you the exposure.
I mean, like, I didn't even know what that was at that point.
Right.
Like, you know, like I just was in a whole different realm of life. And then, so short story, they were trying to call me for months, but I was separated, I divorced, but I was filing for bankruptcy. There was people calling me like crazy. And from every fucking area code. So I would never answer anything. I kept seeing this California number show up for months. Not answering it, fucking think it's a bill collector. I get an email 3 weeks before I went on from American Ninja Warrior. We've been reaching out to you for, 8 weeks, you haven't answered. Are you even interested? I'm at work and I call them and I'm like, is this really the Ninja Warrior people? And like, yeah. I'm like, yo, I thought you were a fucking bill, just like this too, because I'm like, I thought you were a fucking bill collector. Holy shit. And they're like, do you still want to come on? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? But at the same time, I'm like, no, because I don't really know,
Right, yeah.
And but I commit. And I have this one friend, is Adam Heller. He's got some quan, He's got good money. He's a good friend, and he immediately, when he found out, he offered to pay and take me there. It was in lovely downtown Pittsburgh,
I've been to downtown Pittsburgh recently. Shout out to Ruben Schneider and JJ, High and Angry.
I remember High and Angry. I listened. Once I connected with you, I started trying to listen to some of your podcasts.
Yeah,
I remember you mentioning that.
I was there last week, and we those two, the bar shut down in downtown Pittsburgh. Those two were talking about Ranger stuff, and I just kind of hung out. It was cold, and I was wearing like one of these, like these. I'm obsessed with these, like, it's essentially a t-shirt. It's just long sleeve with a hood.
It's a long sleeve t-shirt.
Yeah, with a hood, kind of thing. So I'm wearing that. It's like 40 degrees, and I am 6'1", 6'2", depending on the convenience store, and like 160 pounds. I'm like a fucking chihuahua in 40-degree weather. So they're talking, army shit, and I'm over there just getting fucking wrecked off of JJ's rum, in an alleyway in downtown Pittsburgh. But yeah, Pittsburgh, cool city.
So they took me. The show was presented at a old abandoned steel mill called Cary Steel Mill, and it's all rusted and abandoned. I mean, it's a complete shithole. And to get back there, it's like you're in fucking Lebanon from the 90s or whatever. I mean, you don't even know where you are. You make a few turns and you're just in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
And you ever been to one of them roadside carnivals? You pull in the corner, they got a Ferris wheel, the zipper, and maybe a Gravitron or some shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's what the show is when you're in the regionals. It's just one of them things set up in a straight line in the middle of fucking nowhere. And they film overnight because they need the night for the lights.
Yep.
So you don't know any of this, bro. I checked in at 11 p.m. I didn't run the course till 5 a.m. It was 37 degrees.
Yep.
It was May 18th. And I just kept getting high and stuff and trying to, like, back then I was still smoking up when I was weighing stuff. And like my friend's just like, calm down. Here, take some more weed and get paranoid, Like,
yeah, right, yeah.
But I just found a piece of plywood in the middle of this corner somewhere, and I'm like doing a few push-ups, taking a little caffeine, eat something real light. And they, we had to stop at Target and buy shitty fleece clothes because we were freezing.
Right, yeah.
And what they do is they keep telling you you're going to go, you strip down, and right when you're ready to go, they go, no, and they're going to hold you back now. And now imagine, I've never watched a show. They let you watch one guy run through the course once. You don't get to try anything.
Right.
And then next thing you know, it's 5 a.m. and they're feeling sorry for me for my backstory. They don't think I'm going to do anything. So they're like, well, the last few of you, we're just going to let you go before the guys in the finals. Like, I'm not going to do anything good,
Right.
And I'm like, well, can I just go now? And they're like, really? The sun was just starting to come up. And they're like, okay. And I go on there and, bro, the countdown goes on. You come up through the smoke.
Yep.
And there's just a screen the size of a side of the house with your fat fucking head on it, and like all this is happening in real time. And it makes it seem like it's so big, but it's not. It's like it's now as my goddamn living room,
Right.
And shut up, mutt.
Uh-oh.
That's my English bulldog.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, he's the best. He was given to me by my ex-wife as torture.
Oh, yeah?
Little did she know.
Just to chew up all your shit. I love English bulldogs, man, but
just
they
blankets. Well, on a side note, what's amazing is every bulldog backs into you ass first to get petted. They don't come in forward. It's amazing. Yep. So yeah, you see a fat head. You're like, oh my God. Your heart starts pounding. You look to the left. They make it look like this big crowd, but it's just a little section of bleacher with just a shit ton of people slammed into it. So when they pan out, it looks like a lot of people. But to you, all this is happening, and you know how they make you hop them pads in the beginning, and there's water, and well, they're much further apart than it looks.
Right.
right? I'm fucking freaking out, you know? And the guy, all of a sudden they go, you're going to go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the thing goes, beep. And I just look at everything and I just go, I exhale and I just start hopping slowly across all these things. I get to the next thing. And my whole motto is, make it through the first thing, I could go home. Make it through the second thing, I could look my kids in the eye. Make it through the third thing, I've won. Like, right, it doesn't matter after that, right? I made it to the like 6th thing. I was one before the warp wall, which was the prelim final part.
Right, yeah.
It goes on past that when you get to the next round.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So I made it to the devil's step. I'd never seen any of this stuff, bro. And they cut it all out, but my forearms were knotted up, right? And I'm about to go to the devil's step. I just sit down on the stage and start talking to the crowd. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna fucking do this. I can't even feel my hands, you know?
Right.
And then I get up and I go do it. They cut all that out. And by the way, that chick at the end, you know, the announcer chick, just as hot in person. Smoking hot.
Good to know.
But it was just an amazing experience. It changed my whole life, you know? And that's where I found like social media. Like I didn't even really use it before that. And that's where I came up with the blue collar athlete concept. And that's where I found the Spartan series 2 weeks later. And I found I liked running through the woods far more than I liked that prefabricated type of stuff.
Right, yeah.
And then boom, I was off and running. They took a real shine to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have to win. That's one of those things where I just show up and I'm like, at the time I was 46 or 47 and I was just doing really well. And then next thing somebody reached out to me and I'm getting a write-up in their online magazine, just a little tidbits of stuff to keep me going and motivated. Right. And I reached out when I was racing in California, I reached out to the owner of Deuce Gym, which is this guy, Logan Gelbrecht. He's world famous strength and conditioning coach. He used to play for the Padres when he was a bit younger. And, you know, you just meet these crazy people. I just reached out to him. I'm like, listen, I got a muscle tear, and I need to climb rope. Do you have any technique you recommend? He's like, just come on down. And he just, for no money, he had an indoor-outdoor gym in Venice Beach, but not on the water, but like in Venice Beach. Mm-hmm. And I'm still friends with that guy to this day, you know? I just show up there, and he'll just coach me and stuff. It's great, you know? And,
awesome, man. Yeah, I know. I've never done the actual Spartan one. I've done some of like the knockoff, like
but I mean, Gladiator. You get the concept. You jump and run through some shit. You challenge yourself.
Do you have all the medals? Do you have all the Spartan medals?
No, because if you're not first, you're last, Ricky Bobby. You know.
Well, I thought like if you finish, right? Like because there's
No, they give them to you. I just mean they don't mean anything.
Oh, gotcha.
Like that's what I mean with that reference. If you're not first, you're last. It's like I run a lot of trail races and shit, and local races too, and I'll win first in my age group. I never show up to get that medal.
Right.
I mean, what the hell does that even mean?
Yeah, I mean, you finished something, right?
Well, no, but I mean, but I know that, and they know that. I guess when you get your first Spartan medal, it's cool, and maybe a couple after that. But when you're in the money series and maybe you get really close, it's like a race that really kicks ass. You want to go get that medal,
right? Okay.
Other than that, you just wind up with. I mean, I've raced like 300 races. You have 300.
Oh, okay. I can see that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not shitting on the.
No. I feel you there. Not that it's anything insane, but when I was early teens to late 20s, I played like professional paintball, and at some point you just get to the point.
Shit.
Yeah, at some point you're like, hey, second place. Like, I don't want second place anymore. You know, like fuck this noise.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's certain things that are important to you, right? So, like, I won only one Spartan race that I won the thing, and it was a Long Island race, and the only reason I won is because the race itself isn't big. It's big in New York, but not big on Long Island. So the competition was weak. Right. Which made me awesome.
Hey.
If you want to seem good, hang out with people that are not. And so I won, and then I got penalized for some shit. And they took a minute off my time on the tail end, and then I wound up in second.
Oh, damn it.
I never went up for that fucking thing, you know?
The PED test. You failed the PED test?
Dude, I was just shooting myself up before I got on here.
Yeah?
Yeah, TRT is amazing.
Yeah, I bet. Like
I mean, when I was 31, I wasn't doing it, but I mean, I'm 51, and
yeah.
well, right now I'm 210 pounds, but when I was racing 6 months ago before I got hurt, I was 180 pounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't run. I'm like half a cripple, but I have to work and I lift a lot. I just can't run. So I just embrace the lifting role now. So I kind of do more of an old bodybuilding style now and just go in and crush any body part that I can that doesn't hurt, which is limited.
Yeah, I actually, because of Drinkin Bros, I went and got like my testosterone and all this stuff checked because I was always really tired, and like sex drive was never really a problem, but I also have like a really hot wife.
But even if it was, you wouldn't admit it. Let's just say Oh no, I just mean like the precursor as a man. When you have this conversation, before we get to this level, like you and I are pretty comfortable at this point, just saying whatever. But in the real world, everybody has to lead with, I'm not having a problem with my sex drive, but
no, I am actually probably the right gust of wind blows, and I'm going to the office bathroom, you know?
So I'm just kind of teasing.
No, actually, what it turns out, the doctor's like, oh, your levels are fine. Like, how much sleep do you get?
Yeah.
And I was like,
you're like enough to just for you to give me the TRT anyway?
Well, enough that my eyes don't burn quite as bad when I wake up.
Well, I don't know how it is by you, but here you can get anything. I mean, you could fucking, like, I go to a clinic and my T levels were low, and the guy looked at me and goes, how do you look the way you do with your T levels like that? I'm like, I never stop moving.
Right.
I just train and race and work and sleep and drink and then he goes, well, let's start with this amount, and I did. I started with the half of what he suggested, and stayed that way for a while, and just slowly. And I was like, wow! All of a sudden, I was like, this feels great, and I like now I'm like right around where I'm taking what I'm supposed to take. And then I was listening to a Rogan podcast where the doctor on there said, take that same amount, cut it in half, and take it twice a week. You're not doing any more, but split it up.
Right.
And that was amazing. So if anybody out there is on TRT and they don't know that, if you're doing it yourself, you just cut it in half, the amount you take it, and do it twice a week instead of once, and it just keeps your testosterone levels wailing full time. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. Actually, there's a lot of people like Nooners and Drinkin Bros stuff that I've talked to that because of like Dr. Frank and stuff being on Drinkin Bros, they're now all kind of on various levels of TRT or, supplement replacement, hormone therapy. So yeah, there you go. You heard it from a guy who's doing it. Do half as much, twice as often, right?
Yeah, I wish I could remember the doctor's name, but I'm kind of a burnout. But it was the Joe Rogan podcast. He always had, how it is. He has like I love that podcast when there's somebody I'm interested in, but if it's not, it's a long 3-hour hang for something you're not interested in.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with Rogan now. Obviously the godfather of podcasting.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I wouldn't be here talking to you if I didn't find him 6 or 7 years ago or whatever. But
yeah.
Like there's just sometimes I'm like, oh, fuck this, whoever he has on,
Oh, yeah, for sure. But there's some good ones. Before we get off of here, I think one of the ones that I found surprisingly captivating was when he interviewed Jewel.
I love that podcast.
Yeah, that was crazy. I was at my desk just like, what? Like she's homeless at 18 and turns down $1 million. And then
what about when she lost all the money when it got taken from her by her mom?
Yeah, spoiler alert. Her mom steals like $150 million from her and just walks away. That's one of the few times. If you ever have seen Joe Rogan, he's had some incredible people on there that say some of the craziest stories. That was one of the very few times I've seen him speechless.
You know what else I found interesting was the Miley Cyrus one.
I did like that one as well. I was like, oh, Miley Cyrus, really? And then I was like, man, I came out of that like, wow, I did not know this, but I like Miley Cyrus.
Well, here's the funny thing. I lived in Montana when like her dad was famous with the Achy Breaky song and all that shit. That shit was happening in real time. When
you were busting nuts with achy breaky heart on in the background. We get it.
You know what the sad part is? I had a flat top and a tail and a gold chain in the middle of Missoula, Montana, because I'm from here, right? So I was getting in bar fights all the fucking time because I didn't belong there. And Nirvana came through there, and I didn't even go to the show because I didn't know who they were. It was like a crowd of 500. I missed Pearl Jam the same way. They were right there. I was 8 hours from Seattle, driving distance. They all came through the University of Montana. I didn't watch any of them.
Man, you missed out.
No shit. But I did get to see Soundgarden in a crowd of 500 at the Edge in Orlando, which is an outdoor little thing in the middle of Orlando in the city. And I had a moment with Chris Cornell on his encore where I was like right up on the fucking stage because he's my favorite. I mean, goddamn, the best singers of the day.
R.I.P. Chris Cornell.
Bro,
I'm a big Chris Cornell fan.
I shit you not. I have all his acoustic shit I listen to every day still to this day at work. But
nice.
Live, best show ever. I mean, just because he'll look, his eyes, man, when you connect with that dude, it's like, he's like looking right, even if he's not, it is,
No, he knows.
But it was cool because I was picking people up over my head through that whole concert and throwing up into the crowd. And then once I did one or two, I wound up with a line. Yeah. And I just kept taking people, picking them up and throwing them up into the crowd for like an hour. It's pretty cool.
Man.
Yeah, look, listen, man, I know we've been talking some shit and I probably babble a lot, but I've lived an amazing life. I've been all over the fucking place doing just the most obscure shit, And it's all experience driven and has nothing to do with material things. It's like I make my money, I pay my bills, I make sure my kids are taken care of. And then I'm off, man. Like my kids are so like dialed in that like when I leave for a week, I just go, don't burn the fucking house down as my joke. And then I just leave and I just come back,
Yeah, for real, man. Yeah. You definitely seem like you've lived an incredibly interesting life. And I think we've just scratched the surface of this. So we're going to wrap this up, but dude, open invitation would definitely get you back on. Yeah,
well, let's I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's we'll schedule something. I'll talk to you off air because I want to talk to you about that screening thing as well. Mm-hmm. And then we'll try to schedule something. Maybe we'll format a little more because I go all over the place. I'll just not shut the fuck up. But yeah, I can tell you a bunch of shit. I've done some wild stuff. So,
for sure, dude. We'll definitely we'll talk. We'll get you back on. Maybe we meet up. Maybe we meet up in Austin. I would say Des Moines.
I will travel on because I'm a union guy. I got a shit ton of pay time. Well, I got 20 years now. Right. So I get 6 weeks of vacation, fucking 11 days of call-in time. Right. I just disappear for days.
Yeah, not to keep this thing going, but you're a Teamsters guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll meet up one day, just have an entire episode about how they probably tell you not to talk about Jimmy Hoffa.
You heard me on the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ross goes, he's buried into the end of Giant Stadium. I go, that's what yeah, sure. And he goes, you think so? I go, I don't even give a shit. But sure, why not?
Why not? Why not? Well, yeah, man.
The union's weird, dude, right? Because you could hide out and suck at life and make the same pay as me, and I bust my ass. I just learned not to take it personal. We all have our own way to get through life,
For sure, man. But we'll hop off of here. We'll talk offline about some stuff. But, dude, this has been fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for coming on.
Bro, you're kidding. Thank you for letting me talk. Nobody listens.
No, I love talking. That's why
what I have to say.
That is literally why I started this show. Was, the Drinkin Bros and Nooner community. Like it's full of at this point, it's full of so many people with so many incredible stories, right? Like, let's hear the stories, man. Like, I understand it's I've been criticized for starting a podcast about fans of a podcast and kind of hijacking that. But
I totally got off on that idea. I think it's great.
This community has saved me in so many ways. So part of paying that back is to get people like you on to talk about your stories, right? So thank you so much for coming on. We'll definitely have you back on again.
Yeah, thanks again, and shout out to all you people listening. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch up with you in private. All right?
Yeah, man, for sure. So,
All right, thanks again.
once again, before we hop off, tell everybody where they can find you once again.
You can find me at the Blue Collar Athlete on Instagram and sort of on Facebook for old people because I have like high school friends on there.
Right.
I don't use Twitter because I don't know how to talk in such a short format.
Twitter sucks. So
Yeah,
I'm with you on that one. I have a Twitter, but mainly just so I can look up whatever porn stars Ross is talking about, you know?
Sure.
That's why I have a Twitter.
So as a side note, like Instagram, like if you enjoy like athletic shit and kind of an interesting story, I'm a good follow. You know, I do a lot of story and much less posting now. So if you like a good Instagram story, that's usually where I'm fucking around.
Awesome. And before we hop off of here, and I'll close out on this, a certain nooner came in super late, by the way, but he's got his own button on my soundboard, so.
Oh, my lucky stars, a Negro.
Love you, JJ, buddy. We mentioned you earlier talking about you in
That's
Pittsburgh.
Black Irish for you.
Yeah. So, once again,